Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched Rihanna's Super Bowl performance, which I totally forgot about the Super Bowl performance. I was just watching the trailers. And wow, the staging was amazing. They had seven platforms floating over a long stage, and they sort of went different levels. They started off being below Rihanna and then above Rihanna, and that was amazing. And the side angle of that, looking at all these platforms and the different levels, and just the staging of the cameras and stages was amazing. To do all that live and to set that up, they only have like 3 minutes to set it all up and like pack it up again. So that was amazing. But the reason they had all that was kind of because Rihanna did nothing. She just stood there and sang. She barely danced. Now the excuse is going to be that she's pregnant, but she didn't even change costumes. She didn't do anything. It was just the laziest Super Bowl performance I've ever seen. And that's kind of why I'm not a big Rihanna fan, because she just seems to phone everything in and has since like Umbrella. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm kind of disappointed because I thought she might have stepped it up. Basically, they had like 100 dancers in white costumes and her in one red costume, and it was like, well, she's not going to move, so let's just get 100 dancers to just fill the space because she can't fill it with her presence or her performance or her persona or anything. Now, again, the excuse will be that she's pregnant. And that might be part of it. But she didn't really try, and she really was just phoning it in. And she was lip syncing part of the time, or she was letting the backing track take over a bunch of times. But yeah, I just was really shocked. It was so lazy. I was trying to think, what were the highlights? And I'm like, well, it all looked the same. It was just her standing on the platform. She got off the little platform at one point and was walking around the main sort of station. She got back on the platform and went back up for the end of it. But and that was a little brave because this is just a platform, and you could see in one of the close-ups that it was moving around, and that would make me a little bit anxious. And it looked like she had some sort of belt or something, so she probably had some sort of device where if she fell, there'd be like a thing to catch her or something. But I mean, considering she's pregnant, that's a bit of a risk because Lord knows what being, falling off a platform and being caught by like a safety harness could do to like your baby. So it was a little brave on some levels to do the platform, because when Madonna did her greatest Super Bowl performance ever in history, let's just face it, the greatest Super Bowl performances ever were Michael Jackson's first defining one where he turned it into what it is today. He basically reinvented, because usually it was just bands, local bands and stuff, and it really wasn't that remarkable. Then he came out and did this amazing show of Heal the World, and he had this whole stage built and everything, and it was amazing. And he sort of started this, what we have now as the Super Bowl performance. And Madonna sort of did the best version of that after that. People will probably try and claim Lady Gaga did an amazing job. She was okay. Her frog jump. Madonna wanted to have dancers flying in, but they wouldn't let her do it for safety reasons. So then Lady Gaga did that where she jumped off. Well, she didn't jump off the building. She faked jumping off the building. They had a filmed section, and then they raised her up a few meters and dropped her back down into the shot to make it look like she jumped off the top of the building, which she didn't, and she just did this frog thing. It was just really embarrassing. And Beyonce, she did okay, but Katy Perry at least had a really good prop with this giant, I think tiger. Lion or something. She walked in on that was sort of impressive, but Madonna's done the best, Super Bowl performance, and she got the most views. She got more views than the game itself, which doesn't happen very often, because sort of depending on the audience and that the Super Bowl numbers, I think they kind of increase each year, so you can't really compare one year to another. What you sort of have to compare is the amount of people who watch the performance versus watch the game. If people switched off, it was a failure. If people tuned in just to watch Madonna perform like they did, clearly it's a win. So yeah, really lazy. The laziest performance since The Weeknd. His performance was absolutely boring. And she didn't change costume. She just had the same dancers. Just later in the performance, like about 100 more of them came out. She had about 20 on the stages with her, and then they all came out and filled like the actual field before the stages went up again. So yeah, disappointed there. I was watching it and I'm just like, when's something going to happen? Like the initial, wow, they're all on platforms, they're moving. That's risky. It's fascinating to see it from a side angle of all the different levels that they're on. That was interesting, but that's the production manager. That's like the staging. That's not actually her performance. Her performance was bland, and that's probably why I didn't end up seeing her live, and I probably never will. The only other person I've wanted to see live that I didn't see really was Beyonce, and that's because I had really good seats I was going to buy, and then they sold out, and the next lot was like $100 more for really bad seats. I just couldn't do it because I nearly had good seats. So I didn't go. I kind of regret it now. I didn't know the world was going to change in between now and then, though. And then the other person I didn't see was Christina Aguilera, because I had tickets, but then she cancelled because she was sick and she was pregnant. She couldn't take any risks, so they cancelled my show. I showed up and it was like, it was cancelled. But yeah, so I don't feel bad about missing Rihanna now. If this is the kind of performance she gives, just phoning it in, lazy as, and yeah, disappointing. Let's see who comes up next year, see if they can do a good job.